going to do the ratings, and we're going to do some comments from Sue Bird, because she's not very happy about, I guess, some WNBA fans, Fever fans, Caitlin Clark fans, I would say, that may have wanted refunds after Caitlin Clark got hurt. And I don't think it's a apples to apples, apples to oranges, whatever you want to do, comparison to the National Basketball Association, but I can somewhat understand where fans are coming from, because we're witnessing something kind of rare.
The Fever fan base.
Oh,
the fan base.
Yeah, what do you mean by that? That has to go.
Oh, these new fans. It has to go, because it's not the Fever fans. It's not Caitlin fans. That is a large group of people. Let's stick with the Fever for a second. That is a large group of people. And what we're talking about as we get into the meat of this, we're talking about the faction of that group that is pushing racist agendas and is pushing hate and creating, divisiveness online, acting as fans, acting as Fever fans, acting as Caitlin fans.
Caitlin Clark is out with an injury. Fans are furious. And WNBA royalty Sue Bird just lit a match to the firestorm with comments that have split the league in half. Accusations of racism, fan entitlement, and the future of women's basketball are all on the line. This isn't just a story. It's a reckoning.
A larger arena. First of all, WNBA was awesome before Caitlin got here, and it's been awesome for a really long time. They're probably going to go, and yes, it might be a little disappointed they don't see Caitlin play, but they're probably going to go and get an amazing game and then be like, oh wow, this is awesome, I love the WNBA.
The only thing that really stood out, to be honest, was there was one quote in one of the front office sports articles. It's unclear whether the teams would provide any compensation for fans who bought tickets to their games. And I was like, what? Injuries are a part of it. Again, I get it. It sucks. If you bought a ticket to see somebody and they're hurt, I get it. That is a big bummer. But no, you would never say that about men's sports.
When Caitlin Clark went down with a knee injury during the June 22nd game against the Phoenix Mercury, ticket holders were outraged. Refund requests flooded team offices. Hundreds of fans paid upwards of $600 for tickets to see Clark play. But when Sue Bird addressed it on her podcast with Megan Rapinoe, the tone wasn't sympathetic. It was dismissive.
They're not talking about WNBA tickets that may normally be $23 or $18 or $12. You're talking about tickets that in some cases people have paid $400, $500, $600 for, much above the actual face ticket value, specifically because Caitlin Clark.
Bird's remarks quickly ignited controversy. To many fans, it wasn't just tone deaf, it was disrespectful. Clark fans weren't just disappointed, they felt gaslit. This wasn't an $18 ticket to a mid-season game. This was premium pricing for the league's biggest draw. And suddenly, fans demanding refunds were being painted as entitled or worse, bigoted.
Because it's not the Fever fans. It's not Caitlin fans. That is a large group of people. Let's stick with the Fever for a second. That is a large group of people. And what we're talking about as we get into the meat of this, we're talking about the faction of that group that is pushing agendas and is pushing hate and creating, divisiveness online, acting as fans, acting as Fever fans, acting as Caitlin fans. Now, whether or not they like basketball, whether or not, I don't know. But that's the group of people.
Sue Bird didn't stop there. She addressed what she called divisive behavior among new fans, pointing to a faction pushing hateful and racist rhetoric online. But here's where it got messy. Bird lumped in entire sections of the Fever fan base. Fans who weren't attacking anyone, just asking for transparency. That blurred line became a wildfire.
Specifically, Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird, because Sue Bird has come out and, for lack of a better way of putting it, she's gaslighting fans, plain and simple. She's blowing smoke straight up your keister about the narrative surrounding Caitlin.
This debate touches on a deeper wound in the WNBA, the league's complicated relationship with its own growth. For decades, players like Bird, Taurasi, and Stewart built the game brick by brick. But now, new fans, many drawn solely by Clark, are being told their passion isn't valid. That they're not real fans.
Bird,
comes out on the most recent episode of the Megan Rapinoe and Sue Bird podcast, where she speaks pretty candidly about some of the issues that have been going on within the WNBA, and more specifically in what we're going to talk about today. Sue Bird highlights how Caitlin Clark, the Caitlin Clark new fans, the new fans in the WNBA, they're not the ones responsible for all this toxic racial dialogue that's been surrounding the WNBA this year.
Let's talk numbers. Since Clark joined the WNBA, average attendance has doubled. Her games draw millions of TV viewers. Merch is selling out. And yet, she's been injured more than once from aggressive fouls. Fans asking for refunds? That's not selfish. That's customer expectation, especially when ticket prices spiked specifically because of Clark.
I caught this clip about Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe complaining about Fever fans because they don't want to show up due to the fact that Caitlin Clark is hurt.
Fans aren't asking for miracles. They're asking for fairness. They're supporting the league in record numbers. But now they're being told to be quiet, be grateful, and stop making noise. Sue Bird says it's about growing the game. But to many, it feels like the old guard closing the gates.
Sue Bird, respectfully, calm down. Respectfully, cut it out, please. Please cut it out respectfully. First things first, racism has been impacting the WNBA. Sue, you're right. But not the brainwashed definition that everybody goes to when they think of racism. Racism has been impacting the WNBA because black women within the WNBA hate to see their white counterparts.
Bird's podcast sparked a media frenzy. Stephen A. Smith called it a PR disaster. Fans online called for an apology. Meanwhile, Megan Rapinoe tried to soften the comments, but the damage had been done. The fracture between longtime WNBA loyalists and new Clark-era fans was out in the open.
So Sue Bird is not holding back, calling out the racism in the WNBA surrounding Caitlin Clark. So she feels that Clark is being used as a pawn, while true WNBA fans are disgusted with the racial tensions. It's about time someone speaks up. The league has been dealing with this for too long, and Bird is shining the light on the issue. Well, go ahead and shine on, Ms. Bird. Get it all out there and let us understand what is going on behind the scenes.
This moment isn't just about refunds. It's about a culture clash between old and new, between tradition and evolution, between protecting a legacy and welcoming a new era. Caitlin Clark isn't just an athlete. She's a symbol of what could be. But symbols need protection, not scolding.
High would you say the ceiling is for Caitlin year 2?
Yeah. I mean,
what ceiling?
What did Michael? I always like to quote Michael Jordan in these moments.
The ceiling,
the
is,
ceiling
the
is the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was incredible last year. Learned a lot about the league, so she's just probably going to add not necessarily anything to her game. I know she worked out in the off season and talks about her strength and wanting to get more physical, but it's the experience part that as you get older in this league starts to show itself combined with the skill. So she knows the league now, and so that's dangerous. She's surrounded by a ton of talent. They did really well in free agency, but yeah, it's her second year, so it'll be fun to see like what adjustments she makes and what she did.
If the WNBA wants to grow, it needs to meet fans where they are not where it used to be. Sue Bird may be a legend, but legends don't gatekeep. They mentor. They lead. And right now, Clark's fans aren't the enemy. They are the moment.
Soccer player, right? They travel around the country and around the world, right? Aren't fans spending thousands and thousands of dollars, on plane tickets, hotels, food, jerseys, and all that just to see you when you played? Yeah. So it's the same concept with the WNBA. They jacked up the prices. The hotels are expensive. The food is expensive. They're going out their way to see one game. So when they don't get the chance to see Caitlin Clark, they have every right to complain.
So where do we go from here? Sue Bird spoke her truth. Fans fired back. But the real question is, will the league listen? Or will it alienate the very audience that could finally make women's basketball mainstream? Because one thing's for sure, Clark changed the game. And the game's not going back.
Our fans are sucking the fucking life out of the WNBA right now. It's just the truth. You are right, new fans. There has never been more viewership because of Caitlin Clark. There's never been more attention. But you know what there was in the WNBA last year and the years prior? There was other storylines. There was joy. There was talk of competition. There was talk of what was actually happening on the court. And all there is right now is a culture war. It is a them versus you, a you versus them. There is othering. It is gross. It is not fun. It is not engaging.
Do you think Sue Bird was out of line? Or did she just say what needed to be said? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more fearless, unfiltered WNBA coverage. Because this season is far from over.
Caitlin's hard foul, which turned into a flagrant on Angel Reese, which sparked all the things that we dealt with last season. And, you know, the league currently is investigating any racism that happened from the fans or anything that was said. It's almost as if we didn't learn from last year. That Twitter conversation turns into mainstream media conversation because the mainstream media still isn't quite hip to women's sports. They're not quite understanding this world, this game, and are putting all kinds of narratives all over the place. And so those that really do understand this world, they just don't have big enough platform, which is why
Sue Bird just lit the match. Fever fans just threw the gas. And Caitlin Clark? She's the spark that's setting the WNBA on fire. In the middle of record-breaking viewership, sold-out arenas, and heated social media battles, Sue Bird's comments have drawn a line in the sand, and she's not holding back. It all started when Indiana Fever fans demanded refunds after Caitlin Clark was sidelined due to injury. The disappointment was understandable. Tickets had been resold for hundreds of dollars just to see the breakout rookie in action. But instead of sympathy, fans got scorched by a WNBA icon. Bird didn't stop there. She suggested that some Clark fans were pushing hateful narratives and creating racial division online. She called it toxic. But critics hit back hard, saying Bird ignored the very real issues fans were raising, including questionable officiating and physical targeting of Clark. This isn't the first time Sue Bird's taken a strong stance. But this one hit differently. It felt like a dismissal. Not of trolls, but of a new wave of fans who've pumped life and revenue into a struggling league. Fans who, before Caitlin, didn't know a single WNBA team name. Now they're traveling state lines to catch a glimpse of her. Meanwhile, the WNBA is dealing with its own identity crisis. Clark is being fouled like she's wearing a target. Sue says the league was awesome before Caitlin, but the numbers don't lie. The WNBA was barely on the radar before she arrived. Attendance has skyrocketed. Merch sales have doubled. TV viewership? Historic highs. And then came the disrespect. Fans say Clark is getting WWE-level treatment on the court, elbows, body checks, even cheap shots. Yet the whistle stays silent. Sue Bird? Silent too until fans asked for accountability. Then suddenly, she had a problem not with the fouls, but with the fans. Let's be honest. Clark changed the game. She forced networks to spell out Aaliyah Boston's name.